Hi there folks, my name's Nova24 and welcome to another little Microsoft Flight Simulator aircraft review. Today we are going to be having a long overdue look at an Aeroplane Heaven release from a little while ago, but one for me that has a lot of nostalgia attached to it for many a reason. And of course I am talking about this amazing aircraft that we have in front of us, the Havilland Canada DHC-1 Chipmunk. Now, before we get too far in this review, I do want to say, start off by saying a huge thank you to the team over at Aeroplane Heaven and at Orbix for supplying the review copy of this aircraft today. Now, the de Havilland Canada Chipmunk is a fascinating aircraft and was brought to life from de Havilland Canada because of essentially a need to replace the venerable de Havilland Tiger Moth, which was, of course, the ab initio pilot trainer of choice for the Commonwealth services, both in the interwar period and throughout the Second World War. And de Havilland Canada essentially looked to leverage leverage that idea and something that is very robust, very easily maintainable, and of course, most importantly, very forgiving to ab initio pilots. And of course, to do that, they came up with this spectacular design, which has soldiered on and continues to fly in very large numbers to this day. Now, as I said, this review is kind of important for me. But before I get into that, as I said, we're going to go through our normal review process here. We're going to have a look at the externals of this aircraft. Then we're going to go through a cold and dark start. Then we're going to go through a test flight, a shakedown flight, and then come in for a landing and give our final thoughts. But as I was saying before, like this particular review for me and this aircraft, at least in the sim, is very nostalgic for me because I've got a bit of a connection for this one because the Aeroplane Heaven have got a lot of experience with developing the Chipmunk for flight simulation platforms. In fact, this aircraft in its previous guise in the old FSX days was actually one of the earliest review videos that I actually did here on the channel. So for me, it was really exciting to see the team reinvigorate this aircraft and bring it to life once again in Microsoft Flight Simulator. So as we've been going through around the model here, we can see that the team they've definitely updated the textures and the model and actually given it the full PBR treatment with that one, and actually gone a lot more detail in terms of the texturing and the sort of wear of the aircraft to actually really give it that used feel. Because as I said, like this aircraft was primarily used as a ab initio or basic trainer aircraft. So, this would be the aircraft that many aspiring young aviators would actually take their first flights in. In fact, the Prince Philip, so the previous Duke of Edinburgh, actually took his first flight in a de Havilland Chipmunk in 1952, and he proclaimed that it was his favourite aircraft of all time. So it definitely has impacted the lives of many aviators. For me, I've been fortunate to see many of these aircraft fly. Now, although their official military sort of trainer service has now come to an end, they are still used by the Battle of Britain Memorial flight. So the Royal Air Force still operates two examples of these as part of the Battle of Britain Memorial flight for actually training their crews as they transition on to many of the historic aircraft that form part of that flight. Indeed, also the Royal Navy Historic Flight also operate one again for training and display purposes. So to this day, as well as it also now in civilian hands, many of them found their way in civilian hands after they've done their time in military service. And they took on a wide variety of roles, everything from training through to aerobatics, through to crop dusting and all sorts of other roles. The aircraft, as I said, is not only as a basic trainer, it is also designed as a basic aerobatics aircraft as well, which is, of course, an important part of any ab initio student pilot in their journey to become a fully fledged proficient pilot. You do have to always learn some basics of aerobatics, if only to be able to recover from things if you end up inadvertently in those situations. Now, again, as I've sort of been looking through here, the model here is absolutely exquisite. It really is well done, and it carries off a lot of detail here. Now, with this aircraft, the aircraft we're going to be flying here is the standard T10, which was the most numerous version of the aircraft that was produced with the sort of shed canopy. But there is also a model of a bubble canopy included with this aircraft. As we come around the engine here, one of the other cool things that Aeroplane Heaven is most notorious for is their attention to detail in things like the engine as well. So you can actually open the covers, as we have done here, and actually inspect the Gypsy major engine inside here. So it is really cool that you've actually got all this detail, and they've just gone to so much work to actually bring this to life. I love seeing this attention to detail from developers like Aeroplane Heaven. So bravo Zulu to you, team. All right. So, but other than that, like as I said, it looks like a chipmunk. It absolutely does look like a chipmunk, and the work that the team has done on the textures, all the way through from the weathering along the leading edges here, where we've got a trainer aircraft that's very much had extensive use with our various chip paint, and all the dust and accumulation from all the various places where this aircraft would be held, and all the other sort of wear and tear that comes across the aircraft. All right, well, enough of talking around the outside. Let's jump into the office and get ourselves into the skies. All right, so here we are in the office of the Havilland Canada Chipmunk, and as you can imagine from an aircraft that first flew in 1946 and is designed for ab initio pilot training, that this aircraft is somewhat Spartan in its interior. And there's definitely a distinct lack of mod cons in here. So if you're looking for a GPS, you are not going to find it. That's the pretty much straight up thing here. The aircraft is designed, as I said, is an ab initio pilot training, so it is designed for basic your first few flights as you're coming to grips with the challenges and the wonder of aviation, and as such the cockpit very much reflects that. It's essentially got your basic 6, and that's kind of it really is. Now, as I said, we are flying the basic T10 here. Now, in the bubble canopy version, it does have a slightly different front combing, which adds in a couple of gauges up on the front combing here, but otherwise the functions are all the same. Now, as I was saying before, the aircraft is primarily, is basically, it is a very basic, rugged design. It is here to, it's there to handle the abuse that it would receive from various student pilots through its life. So it lacks a lot of things that maybe those of us who may have only been used to more modern aircraft might be expecting, such as, for example, the generator isn't the alternator isn't a separate switch or a separate service. It is actually powered by the engine. The engine's got to have sufficient RPMs in order to keep the generator active. It's there automatically. You don't have to turn it on. So that's something, again, that you might be sort of familiar, or you might be sort of looking for, that you won't actually find. Now, in terms of that, otherwise, the team have done and made the cockpit fully functional. It's a fixed pitch propeller, so there's no need for propeller pitch lever. There is simply the throttle and the mixture levers down here. Now, beyond that, they've repurposed some of the switches in the cockpit to be able to do some other things. So, for example, the sort of cockpit lighting dimmer switch to the circuit breaker down here is what we use to hide the secure aircraft. So, as we were looking around before, you saw the chocks and the reds and everything. That can all be removed or controlled from down here. And also here, the Morse code button, Morse code transmission button here is actually how we control the engine cover. So we'll quickly click that, and the engine cover will snap shut for us. Now, the other thing as well is that they've got the dynamic weight system for the pilot and instructor pilots in here. So at the moment, you can see we've got nobody here. But if we open up the weight and balance menu here, and we add in some weights here, so we add in 190 pounds for, not 1,900 pounds, that's probably a bit better, there we go. And we can now see that our instructor has arrived behind us and is ready to pass judgment on our flying today. All right, so with our crew now on board, what we'll do is we'll remove all our reds, and we'll just quickly check outside to see that, yes, those have all now been removed. All right, now let's bring up checklist here. So the checklist here, as I said, the aircraft is really basic. Like, you know, it is really it is basic. It's designed to be that way. So let's just quickly check our controls here. So see our rudder is moving. That is good. We just quickly hide that out of the way. All right, ailerons are good. And elevators are good. Okay, controls are free, clear, and correct. All right, tick that one. Windshield is clean. Check brakes, set parking brake. Okay, parking brake off, parking brake on, set, check. Let's tighten the safety belts. Okay, and we can check our fuel. So the fuel gauges are actually built directly into the wings. So you can actually see down here, so we're currently running the sort of Microsoft Flight Simulator standard 50% fuel. Now what's interesting as well is that the white marks and the red marks show differences based on the aircraft position. So white is in flight and red is when the aircraft is sitting on the ground with its tail down angles. So we are good for fuel for our short little hop we're going to be taking today. All right, onwards to our checklist here. And as I said, this is a very, very basic set here. It really, really is. Okay, so probably the one thing that it's great that there is the checklist, the intro checklist is here. Probably just one thing I notice. It's not a huge breaker, but it's just something that I did notice is that if you're not sure where things are, then it doesn't highlight here in the sim, which is a bit unfortunate. It's nothing, as I said, it's nothing that's going to break your experience, but it is something that is, I'm kind of used to expecting that now. So it would be nice to actually have that experience now. Otherwise, they do give you a full step-by-step in the actual manual. All right, so let's get our carburetor heat set to cold. Okay. Carb heat set to cold. Check. And fuel mixture control set to full rich. Fuel cock set to on. Fuel's on. Oh, it's already set to on. There we go. Cool. All right, mags both set to on. Check. All right, power switch, which should be down here. Ground power enabled. Okay, now what's cool about this, and I do want to actually show you this here because this is actually kind of really, really cool. So this aircraft here doesn't have its own sort of, to enable the aircraft to actually start, it actually has a ground power unit. This is the same unit essentially that was used by Spitfires, so submarine Spitfires and many other aircraft of its era to actually start. They had these portable battery carts that would actually be connected to aircraft to allow them to start themselves. So this is something that I really like the fact that they actually modeled it and actually model it connected to the aircraft while you're going through this. It's a small little thing, but something that I saw that when I saw that, I was like, you know what, that just really nails the experience for that one. So, great job on that little bit of detail. All right, so we see now here, then we've got our generator warning light is there. Okay, so we've got here, so we've flight switch set to ground, open up our starter panel. All right, starter cover is open. Now, unfortunately, the checklist isn't fully complete. That's complete, but we haven't actually started the aircraft yet. So again, the checklist, it's great that it's there, but it really needs a bit of improvement. It really, really does. All right, but in the meantime, as I said, it's fairly basic, this aircraft. So let's start the engine up. There we go. Beautiful engine sounds as revving up there. Everything aligning. All right, we turn our ground power now off, disconnected. All right, so what we'll do now is we will now close our canopy. Now the canopy, we've got our switch here. And it draws our canopy closed. And of course, the dynamic sound set that is with this aircraft is recorded from an actual Gypsy engine, from an actual aircraft from a Chipmunk. And I do like the fact, and they've adopted the ability to actually keep the cones correctly so that, when the canopy is closed, you actually, lose part of the sound, which is good. All right, so that is pretty much us ready to go. So what we'll do now is we'll apply our toe brakes. And we'll release the parking brake. Alright, ease up off the brakes. Try not to cut our friendly neighborhood ground crew in half. As we taxi out, now we can stow the panel there. We're taxiing out here to the runway, so we're departing today from High Wycombe, is where we're departing from. Fantastic little UK GA airfield if you're into GA flying at all anywhere in the UK. Highly recommended little airport for you to fly out of. Alright, now the other interesting part of this one down here is the compass down here. So it's a P8 maritime compass, also known as a lubber line compass. This one is somewhat challenging to get used to, and I know I have made a mess of it on many an occasion, but it is something that if you once you get used to it, it is surprisingly good. Now I don't guarantee I'm not going to make a mess of it today, but we'll see how we go. Alright, now we're going to do, before we go, we probably should have put our nav lights, taxi lights on before we started manoeuvring there, but that's alright. Pick those up now. Taxi out. The sound set does actually fairly impress me, actually. Like, it reminds me, as I said, I have not flown one of these aircraft myself personally, but I have definitely seen them fly and heard them, and it definitely does sound the part, that's for sure. I'll line up here on 2-4. Brakes, alright. Now everything is checked, ready for takeoff. Departure, as I said, this aircraft is very, very docile. Let's see how we go on the takeoff roll here. Gently raising the power. Now she will tend to slip a little bit. Just got to keep gently on the rudder. Too much. She effortlessly effortlessly gracefully rises into the sky after about 50 knots. She's very, very, very docile. Just a little bit of left rudder while we're on the takeoff roll there, and she just effortlessly flies into the sky here. And again, this is the wonderful thing about this aircraft. This aircraft, because of its visibility, both the standard variant and also the bubble canopy variant, it has pretty outstanding visibility. And because of its very docile handling characteristics, it is absolutely ideal. It is absolutely ideal for ab initio pilot training. All right, just gently through our headings here. Gently orbiting around High Wycombe here. Definitely riding a few thermals here in the... Whoa! Yep. That can be fun. And that's the interesting thing about this aircraft is that, yeah, although she is very docile at the same time, she can be at the mercy of some fairly strong winds and thermals, which can make it a bit challenging to fly, but again, keeps you on your toes. Well, and that's the other thing. There is no such thing as an autopilot in this aircraft. This aircraft is very much, you are going to be hands-on for this aircraft. All right, we're going to complete a circuit around field here so we can establish ourselves on our headings. Our headings are always taken from the center of the airfield. So we're looking at about 144 degrees planned heading. Now, if I've set my P8 compass right, then we should be good, but we'll see how we go. No guarantees. Alright, so here we are in our cruise, and to go through a couple of things here, there's not a lot really extra to go through here in the cockpit because, I mean, we saw it all when we were on the ground. There's not much to it. Pretty much the only thing I didn't go through here was the emergency lighting, so there is an emergency lighting circuit here that powers off a different battery that enables you to see your nav aids or your instruments at night. However, the other thing they have done is, of course, this is a trainer aircraft, which is a two-seat aircraft with both, pilot, so student pilot at the front and then a very helpful instructor behind us. So this aircraft can, of course, be flown from both seats, and the team at Aeroplane Heaven have actually modelled both seats. So let's quickly jump and have a look at our instructor station. Now, essentially, there's no real difference to it. It looks pretty much the same. You can only solo in this aircraft from the front seat, though, by the way, because only the front seat has the starter switch. I mean, your rear seat does have the mag switches, but the front seat is the only one with the starter. However, what they have done, I know I said that there's no modern avionics or anything like that in here, but what they have done is they've hidden away some modern sort of modcons here. So we've got our emergency lighting in the back here, but we also have this one here with our nav aids. So the nav aids does give us a basic functionality Garmin 328 along with a basic autopilot here. So that's hidden away for you if you're wanting to use it. So it is very, very basic. It is very basic. Basically, it's a sort of an attitude capture is all it does. It doesn't actually do anything or follow a GPS route. At least I'm not aware of that you can. But it is available here, and you've got all your radio frequencies there if you do need them. So it is something, and you also get your modern radio nav instruments up here. So if you want to do some IFR flying using radio nav, you absolutely can do that using this aircraft with a little bit of help from Aeroplane Heaven. Alright, so now that we've had a look at that, let's turn those ones off here. So they are only available in the rear cockpit. They are not available in the front cockpit. They're only in the rear cockpit. So let's just jump back into our front cockpit here. And then let's go and have a look at the outside of the aircraft and have a look at the outside in flight. So here we are on the outside of the Havilland Canada Chipmunk. And, I mean, there's not much to... this is the thing. There's not much to this aircraft. This aircraft is very much, as I said, designed for its reliability, its ruggedness. It was definitely not designed for good looks. With its fixed undercarriage there, no aerodynamic spats or anything like that, though some aircraft in real life did get fitted with aerodynamic spats in civilian life. In military life, they were very much here as a basic, very functional, utilitarian aircraft is all they were. So, yeah, as I said, it looks really good, does what it says on the tin, the sound set's pretty good. The only thing that I have noticed, and this is a little bit quirky here, so as you can see at the moment, when we were in the cockpit just before, you saw that, we had pilots, we were the pilot, and then we looked at instructor. When we shifted to the instructor pilot position, the pilot figure appeared in the cockpit. However, once I've skipped to the outside here, once I've moved to the outside view, you only seem to get one pilot visible at a time, and I don't know whether this is a bug or maybe this is just me, I'm not sure, but let me just show you. So at the moment, what I'm doing is I've actually set this to flying from the instructor view. So let me just quickly change my camera view to pilot. There we go. So I'm now in the pilot view. If I now look at the outside view, my pilot's disappeared and my instructor's appeared. So, but if I have a look at my weight, then you can see that yes, I have both pilot and co-pilot payloads available. So It's a little quirky. I'm not 100% sure what's going on with that. It's a little bit odd. It ties in with another couple of quirks that I've seen with this aircraft. Most notably was if you go through the various liveries that are available for this aircraft, because there are a number of really beautiful liveries that detail a number of different operators and eras that this aircraft flies with. Some of the thumbnails of the aircraft liveries don't necessarily match the actual livery. Like, for example, there's a Royal Navy Trainer one, which is in actual fact an Irish Air Corps livery, and a Royal Air Force Trainer one that's actually a Royal Canadian Air Force one. So, yeah, oof. It's just a couple of quirky little QA things for me that, again, they're not sim breaking, they're not like experience breaking, but there's just a little bits of attention to detail that I'm kind of like, what were we doing there, guys? Were we asleep with that one? Who knows? Anyway, but as I said, they're not something that breaks your experience, but they are just those little bits of QA things where it's like, that could probably be better. But anyway. Alright, well let's break the video here and let's head down into our approach as we come into landing at Popham Airfield. Alright, as we fly, here we are, flying our upwind part of our circuit here. Upwind part of our circuit here, just about to go crosswind here at Popham Field. Gently start our descent. Oh, trim that down a little bit. Watch the power. Little bit wide on that downwind, I think. Thermals are really strong here today in the sim. Yeah, it's very much an aircraft where you are very much full hands-on the whole time. She trims out quite nicely, but, you know, because she is such a light aircraft, you find that, especially low to the ground, you will get very much affected by wind and by thermals. So it's really interesting to seeing how this aircraft behaves, you know, given the updated weather engines that we've received from the sim. And it's actually great to see how much that's actually impacting and actually giving that slightly more, you know, definitely a lot more realistic feel for how this aircraft behaves. Okay, bring the power down. Okay, lining up. First notch flaps, watch the trim, speed coming down. Still a little fast. Full flap. Okay. Oh, the fan's 55 knots. Go, let the rollout go. Clean up the flaps while we're rolling out. All right. No, yeah, not too bad. Bit of a bounce there, but still not too bad. All right, let's taxi off park our aircraft up and give our final thoughts on the de Havilland Canada Chipmunk from Aeroplane Heaven. Alright, parked up, and parking brake is on. Mixture fuel cutoff. Fuel cutoff switch set to idle cutoff. Okay, trims are good. Power down the lights. Mags off. Set to flight. And everything is set, ready for that. Okay, all right. And I love how it's still got the, because it's still got a little bit of charge in the battery at the moment, so it's still, that'll stay on until the battery exhausts itself. So yeah, nice little touch, that one. All right, let's secure our aircraft, and then let's jump out and give our final thoughts. Okay, so final thoughts on Aeroplane Heaven's de Havilland Canada DHC-1 Chipmunk for Microsoft Flight Simulator. Look, it is a pretty solid rendition of the aircraft. Like, you definitely get the feel of this aircraft that is, very light. It is very docile, but at the same time, she will trick you, and she will smack you in the face if you don't treat her right. So in that regard, they really nail that part of this aircraft, being the fact that it is a trainer aircraft. So it's got that docile characteristics, but it is also a good teaching aircraft. The systems in it are obviously very, very simple, but they've modeled them pretty well. I still very much need to get to grips with a P8 lubber line compass. That is definitely not my forte, but one of these days I will get there. The team then they've also nodded to those who may need some slightly more modern stuff and actually put in, modern radios, the ident system, and VOR navigation systems. They have put those in there if you are wanting to do that, which is not dissimilar from the real aircraft. Many aircraft, of course, have been retrofitted with those materials in real life. So it's not out of the ordinary to see that, but they've implemented it in such a way that for those who are wanting that more classic experience of very much VFR, fly by compass and a stopwatch kind of thing, then you very much are going to be covered with this aircraft. The flight handling characteristics for me pretty much match things that I read up on about the aircraft. That she's, as I said, that she's both docile but then very susceptible to wind and stuff like that. So overall, it's a great aircraft. Now, onto the downsides of it. And again, the downsides for this aircraft aren't huge. Like, they're pretty small. It's little things like the weight and balance quirkiness of the pilot figures not necessarily appearing when you're in the external views. It's the lack of QA that was done on the liveries that were, and like their thumbnails and namings in the actual flight sim. Like, they're really tiny things, but it's just something to point out. And, this is the thing, is that if I'm going to that level to, pick holes of something, it's a pretty solid add-on. It really is. And as I said, I'm going to enjoy flying it. If you are looking for something where you can just punch a couple of buttons and then walk away from your sim, this is not the aircraft for you under any way, shape, or form. It is absolutely not. This is an aircraft where you will be hands on the controls the whole time. So if you're looking for that bit of experience with something that's got some great vision, some fantastic and really amazing history with it, then I would highly suggest that you pick this one up. And that now rounds out this little review video. Thanks very much for watching. Don't forget, as always, to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying these videos and want to see more. And of course, as always, you can catch up with me and all the things I'm up to between videos by finding me on Facebook and on Twitter and on Twitch. Just search Novawing24. All right, thanks. All right, folks, thanks very much for watching. Take care, safe skies to all, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.